Every artist and crafter has supplies in their stash that fill them with regret. And I am definitely one of those. Over the years, I have spent probably a small fortune on art supplies. Some are amazing and I love and they unlock my creativity. Some are definite regrets. So today I thought we would go through some of these. Some of these, I just really don't like them. Some of them, they didn't do what they said they were going to do, and some I just really don't get the hype on what they are all about. So let me share these with you so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did. So number one on my list are these. These are the Faber-Castell Black Edition pencils. They are nice pencils, however, they are advertised as being particularly good to use on black card. I bought these at an art shop when I was in Edinburgh at the Fringe. They had black card out for you to try, and yes, they looked really amazing. So I got these ones. I got the skin tones and the brights because I thought they're the ones that I would use the most on black card. However, after getting them home and colouring with them, yes, they work really well, but when I got my Faber-Castell Polychromos out, they colour just the same as those. I don't think there's any huge difference to how those perform and how these perform. So if you have the Polychromos already, just stick with those. I don't think these are particularly different, but you know, they're still a nice pencil that I can use. Number 19 on my list are some of these various book binding tools that I've gradually collected through the years. I have been in love with the idea of making my own journals for a long time, but I just don't have the type of brain that works well with measurements and things like that. It's just not within my wheelhouse. So I always stuck with making journals with the sort of like ring binder fastenings or like the big hoops and things, because it was something I could do and I still sort of felt that I'd had creative input into those journals. However, I used to spend a lot of time on YouTube and looking at other people's journals that had all these gorgeous signatures and this, that and the other, and I really wanted to do them. And I just struggled with the concept of that. So I bought these, and yes, I did make a few journals using them. They're not my favourite journals that I've ever made. However, I have recently discovered a really easy, no measuring form of journals, and I've never made so many in my life. I'm absolutely addicted to it. So these have kind of become obsolete, and even when they weren't obsolete, I very rarely used them. So they're a good tool, but they're just not right for me. So next on the list is watercolor inks. Now, I have to say, and I have a lot of them, I have to say that whilst preparing this video, I have realised how heavily influenced I am by what I see. I used to watch a lot of craft telly. I used to have Hachanda on in the background all the time, and I think a lot of these purchases were from that. I have lots of watercolour inks. I have the Spectrum Noir ones, I have Ecoline, I have these ones, PH Martin even. And I very rarely use any of them. And I have been trying to play with them more. I've been trying to play with my forgotten supplies. And what I have found about the watercolour inks is that I would just much rather use watercolour. You put them down, and a lot of the watercolour techniques where you can lift the watercolour, they're really hard to lift. They sort of seem to stain the paper really quickly. And so I just really kind of struggle with them. I think I would rather use watercolour or like a watercolour crayon than these inks. They're a bit of a weird medium, and I don't think they perform particularly great. The only exceptions to that maybe would be when I'm creating a galaxy painting. I quite like the fact that it's pigmented and it stains the paper. I think that works really well. And also I can use them with a dip pen, but I don't do either of those things often enough to warrant such a big supply of watercolour inks that I never use. Okay, so next on the list is these Derwent watercolours. These are a metallic watercolour. Now again, there's nothing particularly wrong with them. Derwent are a good brand of art supplies. I just don't do metallics. And again, I think I was on holiday. I was in the actual kind of where they make the Derwent pencils and things like that. I was wanting to buy something, and so I bought these because I didn't really have anything like this. And to be honest, I don't really do metallic watercolours. I think I like to add touches of metallics. I don't like things super shiny, so they're not something I ever really reach for. And if I was wanting to add a bit of sheen, I would probably do that with like an acrylic gel pen or something like that, and not these. So these are very they're not used very often. So again, probably a lovely supply, but not for me. And so it is quite good to know what you like and to maybe ask yourself, how would you use this in your craft or art practice, and not sort of kind of get swept away in the moment, which I feel I do a lot. So yeah, that's these. Okay, so next on my list is the Derwent chromaflow pencils. They're okay, and I think that's the thing, they are just okay. They don't have the creaminess of like your Prismacolors. I find them harder to blend than both Prismacolors and my Faber-Castell Polychromos. They don't particularly stay to a sharp point like the Polychromos. So as an average art supply, an art pencil, they're okay. There's nothing particularly wrong with them, but I don't think they equal the best of the best that are on the market. So if you have some of those other things, I wouldn't bother with these. But if you're looking for a sort of standard pencil, to be honest, I probably wouldn't choose these either, because they're not cheap pencils, and I think you could probably get something better for the value of what you would spend on these. So next on the list are sprays. Now, I think sprays are a fab tool if you are somebody that uses them all the time. If you are an occasional user of a spray, I think they can be a little bit of a waste of money. You can create your own sprays, you know, just by buying a bottle and putting some sort of pigment and some sort of carrier in there. For me, it's a lot of effort to use a spray. You know, I have to get all the stuff to protect my desk. And so I tend to sort of craft in the moment, and just pulling out a spray just doesn't happen very often. As a result, nearly all of my sprays have clogged, especially these ones of the Dina Weekly, the Dina Weekly gloss sprays, because there's a slight plasticky element. And so most of my sprays do not spray, and I end up having to sort of unscrew the lid and dab it on and spray it with water. Well, I may as well just do that with paint. So for me, sprays just don't cut it. So number 6 on my list is craft versions of gilding wax. I just don't think they beat the real thing. So I use the Pebeo gilding wax, which works really well. It's furniture grade. I've had the one tub that has probably lasted me, well, it's older than my daughter. So we're talking 15, 16 years. I use it regularly and it's still going strong. And it's never gone off, it's never gone moldy, it's never gone hard. And the other good thing about it is you can buff it and make it really shiny. I forget that, and I pull out these craft waxes and I try and buff it and end up just wiping it off the project. These are Deco Art. I just don't think they have the same richness in regards to colour when you put it on your project. And not this brand, but I have had the Art Nouveau whipped mousses, which were a similar type of product, and they actually went mouldy on me. So I think if I was going to use gilding wax on an art project, I would still stick to the furniture stuff because it's a better quality product. Both number 7 and number 8 on my list happen to be ink pads. So in 7th place, it would be any form of multicolour ink pad like this. I have had this one in my stash probably about 20 odd years, and it's probably been about 20 odd years since I pulled it out and used it. I just don't ever really get the need for varying the colours like this. I tend to just use one colour, predominantly black. I do have other colours, and if I wanted a sort of more of a gradient, it'd probably be specific to the image, in which case I find colouring on the back of it with pens or like small ink pads more effective than doing something like this. So number 8 is this Squid ink pad by Jane Davenport. It's meant to be white, and I've found it really hard to find a white ink pad that works well. This is not it. It is not opaque. It doesn't work well at all. However, I do use the Hero Art one. The Hero Art one is the only white ink pad I would now use in my craft practice. Okay, at number 9, we have the Spectrum Noir sparkle pens. So again, like some of the previous ones, I don't really do sparkly and shiny. I sort of bought these for accents, and they are quite good for accents, and I wouldn't have probably put them in this list, but I have had so many of these pens burst, and the ink sort of comes out the centre here and comes all over your hand. I've had craft bags wrecked. I've had, well, I stained this finger, this one here, a couple of weeks ago, and I've had numerous showers, been swimming, all sorts, and it's still stained. So once these burst and they get on stuff, They go everywhere, and so yeah, they are definitely not something I would ever purchase again. The next thing would be these Studio Art acrylics. Now, I do know when it comes to your art mediums, you get what you pay for, and these are a really budget supply, and you get them from the range. They are only £1, £1 per bottle. However, I really struggle with them. They don't have much pigment at all. You can create lovely things with them. I have done in the past, but they take so many layers to even cover things. Now, you can get a budget supply paint that works so much better. This is the Shuttle Art brand. I did a video on these recently, and these actually cost less than these, but they are so much more pigmented and easier to use. So whilst you get what you pay for, there are brands that do it better. Number 11 is this, the Ohuhu marker pad. Now, don't get me wrong, they have made magic here. They have managed to make paper that you can use your alcohol markers with and it doesn't bleed through. That is amazing because alcohol markers literally bleed through everything. However, it is quite expensive per page of this book. Now, if you are a crafter like myself that works in an art journal or on mixed media pieces, what I tend to do is colour on a paper that is suitable for markers, fussy cut it out and then add it to my project. So let's say something like this. Okay, so I've coloured it separately and then added this in. I also really love creating artwork pieces with my markers. So for example, something like this. Now this I could not have created using this paper. Whatever magic they have done to it to stop it from bleeding through, it doesn't have the same blendability. So I kind of feel, I'm not sure who it's for, because if I was wanting to keep a record of my artwork, I'd be wanting to get it to this standard and I can't get it with that paper. If I'm using it separately, I'm more than happy to live with the bleed and put it on something different. I don't think the quality of the paper and how the alcohol markers work on the paper is worth the very clever and very unique and a total USP of it not running through the page. I don't think the pages that I have created in here are my best artwork for that reason. So for example, this is something that I've produced on the paper. It's pretty and it's okay, but it's not on the same level as this. And so if I'm going to be creating art, I want to create this, not this. So again, it's nice to have. I will probably fill the journal, but I don't think it'd be something I'll be buying again. The next is another journal, and this is a Diane Reevely journal. I genuinely don't know why I bought this. And also I bought two, which was really stupid, because I had the original Diane Reevely journal and I didn't really like it. I didn't really like the paper. For something that was designed for art journaling, I found that you needed to put gesso on it or the ink would bleed through the pages. But I was, you know, not blown away, I was persuaded because we had different colour papers. So we have the black, the craft and the cream. I don't particularly enjoy working on cream. Occasionally, yeah, but not a whole journal's worth. Same with the craft and the black. So nowadays I prefer to make a journal that suits my needs. I like a variety of papers in one journal, but I think something like this, you have to go with what they've decided you want. And to be honest, I have two of them. They've been stuck on the shelves and I've barely done any pages in them. So yeah, really regret that one. Okay, next up, Tim Holtz scissors. These were raved about all over everywhere. I think there's this thing that when Tim does something, that it is the best of the best. There's always a load of hype surrounding any launch that Tim Holtz does. And I think I was probably taken away by that. Also probably saw it on TV every single day, but everyone was raving about how amazing these scissors are and I hate them. But I do think scissors is a very personal thing. You have to find something that's comfortable for you. I like my little orange Fiskars. These, I don't find them comfortable to hold. I don't find the grip very comfortable. So when you're doing a lot of fussy cutting, it starts to hurt. I also find that the blade on this is very serrated, and so again, because I do lots of fussy cutting and cut out my images ready to use in a journal page, I don't like that kind of like raw rough edge that it gives, and I think like my little Fiskars do a much smoother edge. So as you can see now, they're sort of like, they've been relegated to opening paint pots, hence why they've got the paint marks on them. So yeah, wish I hadn't bought these at all. So more from Sir Tim, and that would be the Distress crayons. Yeah, I've tried and tried with these. I've not got to the stage where they have left my craft room. They might yet. I quite often donate to the drink and draw nights when I'm cleaning out my stash. So I keep trying, because again, it's Tim Holtz. The colours match the Distress inks that I have. But to be honest, they are a very poor alternative to the Neo colours. I find the Neo colours blend out really well. These sort of still leave a grainy texture when you try to blend out. And I don't know, I've just never made anything I like when I use these. I do try, and I hate the results, so I don't use them. So I could have spent my money on something I would have preferred. Okay, we are getting down to the last 5 now. So I have some thoughts, some very passionate thoughts about some of these products, some strong feelings. The next on my list are these. These are the B&M alcohol markers. Honestly, please, just please don't do this to yourself. Yes, they're cheap. Yes, they're budget. I do understand that everyone has a different budget. We can't all afford the most expensive ones out there, but these are awful. As I was doing the video, I bought these for a video which was sort of like best v worst in alcohol markers. It was the first video I made of those type of comparisons, and like these were literally fraying. I opened them out of the box, I was swatching, they were fraying as I was swatching. Not all of the nibs had ink all the way to the top. Some of them were really inconsistent. And the problem with that yes, they're cheap, and yes, you get what you pay for, but you're liable to create pieces of art and not like them and compare yourself to people that are producing art with slightly better pens and feeling that you're the problem. And honestly, you're not. It's these. They're awful. Honestly, please, if you're thinking about needing budget supplies, just don't get these ones. There are other ones out there. I do quite like the Shuttle Art ones. There are other budget brands that work better, but these are horrific. Just please don't do it to yourself. This one is controversial. I know that because this product has been a lifesaver for so many crafters, especially those with dexterity issues and things like that. But that is the Brothers Scan and Cut. I literally bought this just as it was released. It seemed so amazing, and it is amazing. But for me, it's a very expensive ornament. It's still in my craft room because I spent so much money on it, and I do feel I should learn to use that. Having said that, I got a private lesson with Mel Heaton in the Creating Craft Studios, and I still haven't played with it. For me, I think I've not taken the time to learn the machine. I don't want to. When I'm crafting, I just sort of want to be getting on with it, and I just think I could fussy cut it quicker than sit and fiddle with the settings. They have upgraded this a lot, and it's terrible because I'm tempted to get one of the newer models that actually sets the pressure for you rather than you have to work it out for yourself. But then this is so unused, I really can't justify it. So yeah, this is on my top ones for my biggest regrets because it's the most expensive regret that I have. But part of that is down to me having not taken the time to learn it. So I think if you were to purchase something like this, also make sure that you have the time and the capacity to spend some time learning how to use it so that you get the most out of it. Otherwise, it just becomes, like this has for me, a very expensive ornament that just gathers dust. Okay, so number 18 for me is the Hemi Jelly Gouache. Now, at one point I would have said I loved these when I first got them. I really enjoyed using them, but the trouble is it's an art supply I don't pull out every time I create, and therefore it got really dried up. So a lot of these things that I've put on the list, they're great if you use them regularly. If you don't, and you don't think you will, then I'm not sure I would recommend, because now mine have gone all very crusty. I am fortunate, I do have some creative friends that theirs not only went crusty but went mouldy. Now there are plenty of YouTube videos on being able to revive them. I know I could, but I genuinely don't want to spend hours reviving these when they'll probably dry out again because I'm not sure when the next time is that I will use them. Last week when I did my video using all my art supplies on one page, I did find if I dug a little bit out and sprayed it with water, I could still use it. So because they've not yet gone off, they will stay in my craft room and I will try and use them. But this was definitely being very heavily influenced by what I saw here on YouTube, and I realized I need to take stock and take time before following the trends, because it's not always a good thing. So yeah, definitely regret this. At number 19, we have the Artex Sim Tap markers. I am not a fan of Artex in general, I've discovered from having bought some of their products, and I definitely don't like these. I bought these as a substitute for what will be my biggest regret, which we will go into in a minute, and these did not cut it either. So these are direct ink acrylic markers. I find them a little bit too chunky. The idea is you can increase the flow when you press the end, but I had actually bought this and had empty markers on here, this silver one here. There is no ink in there at all. So yeah, I don't really have a good thing to say about these. And I feel really stupid about it because I bought these to replace another Arrtx product. So I have to say, as a brand in general, I'm not sure I'm going to be falling for their very clever PR. They literally give stuff to everybody on YouTube. It's everywhere. Everywhere you look. Every creator that I loved and followed was using these sort of markers, big and small, and yeah, hate them. Hi, Editing Julia here, and I'm just watching that last clip back, and I really need to clarify. So let's be clear. I'm talking about the fact I hate these pens. I'm fine with the people. Absolutely love the people. I still watch them. A lot of them are my friends. So I definitely don't hold any hard feelings towards the people that have talked about these pens in their videos. I just really don't like the pens. And I don't even hate Arrtx. I don't like them. I don't like some of their practices, but hate's a strong word. They work for these pens, but definitely not for the people. So we definitely have to clarify that before we're going any further, because the rant continues, but I'm definitely talking about pens when I use that word. Okay, we good? Excellent. Hate them with a passion, but not as much as the next item I'm about to show you. This may be no surprise to some of you, because these have ranked worst in many of my videos. I hate these. At the beginning I had a love-hate relationship with them because I loved what acrylic markers can do, but I hated how inconsistent and dry these were. Some of these, again, like the markers that I've just discussed, were dry when I first got them. I reached out to Arrtx at the time and I thought they were really helpful. They told me to put them upside down for 24 hours. That seemed to work, but those two markers have been troublesome. But again, these are an incredibly sponsored item, and so many people have them and so many people have used them, and I was definitely influenced by that. No hate to these people that use them, I completely get it. I have done the same thing. I have accepted product in exchange for review, and I would do it again. If it was a product that I wanted, absolutely I would do it again. But I was definitely influenced by all of these, the fact that so many creators had them, and I genuinely hate them so much. They're still here because they still cost me about 60 quid. They cost me a small fortune for pens that are inconsistent and don't work. So I have worked to make them work. I've looked at how to revive them. I'm still trying to use them. I still want to get as much of my money's worth as I can, but I shall never ever be buying these again. And absolutely, well and truly, my biggest regret when it comes to art supply purchases. Thank you so much for joining me as I have done this review of things that I regret buying. I do find these type of reviews very useful. What do you think? Are there any of the things that I have mentioned today that you 100% agree with? Or do you think some of the things that I have mentioned, I actually need to take the time to learn the product better? In which case, do you have any suggestions for me? I am willing to take them on board. They are all still in my craft room and I would like to get the most out of my supplies if I can. If you would like to see the reverse of this and see the supplies that I cannot live without and the ones that are my favourite, Those are coming up in the next videos mentioned. I will see you guys next Friday. Take care. Bye.